Imagine you are a mother living 4,000 years ago in a small village in the middle of the pristine lands of ancient times. After hours of struggling with the pain of childbirth in a tent lit only by a flickering fire, you finally hear the first cry of your child. You smile as you embrace the newborn, believing the longest nightmare of your life has finally ended. But just a few seconds later, a second cry suddenly rings out, leaving everyone present in the tent speechless. The midwife trembles as she picks up the second child and realizes the two babies are identical, from their faces down to the smallest details. No one speaks. No one offers congratulations. The entire tent is plunged into an atmosphere so heavy, it is suffocating. The women begin to step back, looking at the two children with fearful eyes, as if they have just witnessed a taboo. Outside the tent, villagers gather in growing numbers, but no one dares to step closer to congratulate the mother who has just given birth. An elderly man with gray hair leaning on a wooden staff slowly walks into the crowd with a stern, authoritative face. He leans down to observe the two children for a long time, as if searching for a strange sign that only he can see. After a few minutes of silence, the elder raises his head and coldly declares that these two children are not allowed to remain in the tribe. The mother desperately clutches her two children, completely unable to understand why the happiest moment of her life has turned into a devastating decision. The two children are not sick, not deformed, and not unusual in any way other than the fact that they were born at the same time. For many ancient people, a woman giving birth to two identical children is contrary to the laws of nature and can only be created by supernatural forces. Some believe that one of the two children carries a supernatural presence, while others believe that the whole tribe is about to face a terrible catastrophe. What is even more terrifying is that these beliefs did not exist in just one village, but appeared in many ancient civilizations around the world. From tribes in Africa to civilizations in Europe and the Americas, twins were once seen as a curse, a bad omen, or a sign of demons. Today we will explore this chilling mystery together. To understand why ancient people feared twins, we must first set aside almost all modern knowledge. Let's go back 4,000 years, when humans did not yet know what DNA genes or genetics truly were. Even simple things like the process of fertilization or fetal development were a complete mystery. Whenever a child was born, people believed it was the result of natural laws and the will of the gods. In their thinking, one father, one mother, and one pregnancy should only result in a single child. That rule was repeated over many generations to the point where almost no one ever thought it could be otherwise. Then one day, a woman gives birth to two identical children, causing all familiar beliefs to waver. No one knew how that phenomenon happened because at that time there were no scientific explanations. If you lived in that era, would you see it as normal or as an abnormal sign? Ancient people faced the same question we do, but they only had their beliefs to seek answers. In many places, people believed that one pregnancy could not produce two children from the same source. Therefore, they believed there must be a special cause that ordinary people could not see. Some communities believed that the two children could not have the same father as every other child. Some places believed that the appearance of twins was a sign that natural laws had been broken. There were also communities that viewed this rare phenomenon as a warning of upcoming changes, a failed harvest, a spreading epidemic, or a sudden natural disaster could all be linked to twins. Today we know those thoughts are not based on scientific evidence or modern biological knowledge. But if we lived in their circumstances, perhaps many of us would believe the same. Because when the cause is not understood, humans always tend to create the most reasonable explanation for themselves. It is worth noting that the fear did not stem from the children themselves, but from the meaning humans assigned to their appearance. These very beliefs gradually created many customs and habits that we find extremely difficult to understand today. And one of the clearest examples of that once appeared in West Africa, on the land that is now Nigeria. One of the most notable stories once appeared in West Africa, on the land that is now Nigeria. Here, some communities viewed twins with completely different eyes than we do today. To them, a woman giving birth to two children at once went against the laws of nature. They believed that humans should only give birth to one child per pregnancy. According to that view, only animals give birth to multiple offspring at once. Therefore, the appearance of a pair of twins became something that worried the entire community. That worry was not only for the family, but also for the entire village. Many believed that if the two children were allowed to stay, bad things might happen. It could be a crop failure, an epidemic, or misfortunes they could not explain. To prevent those things, they made decisions that are very difficult to accept today. In some communities, twins would be taken away from the tribe's living area. In some places, they were taken far away from the village. In others, they were left far from the village, with the belief that everything would return to its proper order. The ancients called that returning everything to nature. The tragedy did not stop at the two children. The mother also often became the subject of suspicious looks. Many believed she had brought bad luck to the entire community. In some places, she even had to undergo rituals to be accepted back into normal life. Looking from a modern perspective, it is hard to agree with those things. But if we put ourselves in their shoes, the story becomes much easier to understand. A small village back then might have consisted of only a few dozen to a few hundred people. A single failed harvest was enough to push the entire community into crisis. An epidemic could change everyone's lives. In those circumstances, anything unusual was easily suspected as the cause. Twins accidentally became symbols of fear more than the biological phenomenon itself. That is the flip side of collective fear, when belief is sometimes stronger than the truth. Yet, interestingly, not too far away, another culture held twins in the exact opposite reverence. But the strange thing is that just a few hundred miles away, everything was completely different. Also in West Africa, in the land that is now Nigeria, one people had the opposite view. That is, the Yoruba people, one of the communities with the highest twin birth rates in the world. Instead of being afraid, they saw the appearance of twins as good luck. For the Yoruba, every pair of twins brought a special blessing. They believed those children would bring peace and prosperity to the family. That belief was so strong that they dedicated a specific god to protect twins. That god is called Ibeji, the symbol of connection and good luck. In Yoruba culture, twins were not something to be avoided, but something to be cherished. If one of the two children passed away, the story did not end there. The family would carve a small wooden statue to represent that child. The statue was placed in the house like a true member of the family. Relatives would still dress, care for, and keep the statue with all their love. That was their way of showing that the bond between the two siblings would never be broken. It is hard to believe that the same biological phenomenon could create two completely opposing views. In one place, twins were once something to be avoided, but in another, they became symbols of luck and hope. The children did not change. What changed was the way humans perceived their appearance. The beliefs of each community determined the meaning they gave to the same phenomenon. And that story did not just appear in Africa, because in ancient Rome, another pair of twins became legends who founded an entire empire. Now let's leave West Africa and come to another famous civilization, ancient Rome. Here, twins were still a special topic, but the fear carried a completely different meaning. That is the story of Romulus and Remus, the most famous twins in Roman mythology. According to legend, the two brothers were the sons of the god of war, Mars, and a priestess. Right after birth, both were removed from the palace because the king feared a prophecy would come true. He believed the two children would eventually become a threat to his throne. According to legend, the two brothers were set adrift on the Tiber River. But fate brought them to the shore instead of letting them disappear in the water. A she-wolf was said to have nurtured the two children until they were found by humans. After that, the two brothers grew up together and decided to build a new city. But from here, another problem began to emerge. Being twins, no one could confirm who was worthy of seniority. The two brothers gradually disagreed about the leadership and the future of the city. The argument finally ended with Romulus becoming the only one to continue that dream. According to legend, the new city was named Roma. Although the story is steeped in myth, it still reflects a very real fear of ancient society. That is, the fear of power and the succession. Interestingly, that view also appeared in many Eastern cultures. So, in the East, how did the ancients view twins? Unlike many parts of the world, twins were not entirely seen as a bad thing, but they were not welcomed everywhere either. In Vietnamese folklore, twins often carry both meanings of luck and caution. Specifically, one boy and one girl are often called a dragon-phoenix pair. That image represents the balance between yin and yang. However, not all twin pairs were viewed the same way. In some places, two boys born at the same time once caused many people concern. They thought that two people with the same birth date could easily compete with each other in the future. That thought is quite similar to the story of Romulus and Remus. In ancient China, this worry even appeared within the royal family. If two twin princes were born, the question of who would succeed became extremely complicated. Because they both shared the same bloodline and were born at almost the same time, that made determining the successor no longer as simple as before. It can be seen that the concern about twins changed according to each culture. In Africa, many communities feared things they could not explain. In Rome and some Eastern dynasties, the concern was power and the successor. The same biological phenomenon, but each society reflected its own unique fears. After thousands of years, humans finally found the answer through science. Twins are not a mystery, but just a completely natural biological phenomenon. There are twins that start from one fertilized egg. In the very early stages of development, the embryo splits into two separate bodies. That is the reason they are almost identical in every characteristic. Those are identical twins. But not all twins are identical. There are cases where the mother ovulates two eggs in the same cycle. Both eggs are fertilized and develop at the same time. Those are called fraternal twins. This phenomenon still happens every day in many places around the world. There is nothing mysterious behind it. There is also no evidence showing that twins bring luck or disaster. It is simply a natural possibility of the reproductive process. Interestingly, West Africa is still the region with the highest twin birth rate in the world. And it is also here that many communities have developed special beliefs about twins over generations. When a phenomenon occurs frequently, humans also gradually become familiar with it and view it differently. Perhaps that is why what once caused many people worry in one place became a source of pride in another. So let's return to our original question. Did ancient people really see twins as monsters? The answer is not entirely. Everything depends on where they lived and what their community believed. In some places, twins were a sign to be avoided. In others, they were considered a special gift from the gods. In some places, the story of twins became the legend of founding an entire civilization. In others, it sparked concerns about power and successors. The difference never lay in the children themselves, but in the way humans interpreted what they could not yet understand. Perhaps that is also the greatest lesson history leaves behind. When there is no answer, humans often fill the void with their own beliefs. And sometimes, those very beliefs shape how an entire civilization views the world. Who knows, many things we believe in today will also be explained by science in a completely different way in the future. If you lived 4,000 years ago, would you fear or welcome a pair of twins? Share your thoughts in the comments section, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to discover more interesting mysteries of the ancient world.